Hi, this is Gabby. I'm going to be sharing on this video how I mass produce all of these cards. I made 24 of them, so I hope to give you some ideas and tips on how to mass produce. I wanted to use these envelopes that measure 4.5 inches. They are square, and that's the measurement I use for the card bases. For the main focal point of my cards, I'm going to use these Project Life cards that I had, and I chose the pink ones for the main color, but I wanted others to complement with patterns or colors. I wanted to overlap the pink card on top of the other colors or patterns, but I didn't want to make them bulky, or I wanted to save some of the paper, so I cut them in half diagonally and then placed it behind, and it looked like it was a full card behind it. Since I'm making 24 cards, because these are invitation cards for my daughter's slumber party, I decided to do each step on each card. That way you have the tools out, you have whatever you're using out, and it's right there, and you save a lot of time this way. So after I had cut all those panels that are going to go behind, I adhere them all at once, adding a little bit of glue because I'm planning to add some stitching to the cards. And here you can see that they look like they have a full card behind it, but I'm saving a lot of paper and it's not bulky. Then I trimmed a little bit of this focal panel so they would fit better on my card front. I think it was about 1/2 inch. I didn't throw away those little strips that I cut off because I'm going to be using for the inside of the card. Then I worked on my card bases. I did it in a different way this time. So I first cut the width of the cards and scored them, folded them, and then I cut out the bottom part, the excess cardstock at the bottom. And I saved those little pieces to use them later. I did some testings with the colors of ink that I wanted to use on my background. I wanted to add lots of techniques to this card, so ink blending using a stencil I think was a great idea. I tried some distress inks and I went with tumble glass. By the way, this gorgeous stencil that I'm using is by Heidi Swap. I love the geometric feeling to it with the rounded corners. On the card front, I did a little bit of ink blending on 2 corners, and I did a little bit more in the inside, and also I used another stencil from Amy Tangerine with the word fun, and I used some pink ink this time for that one. I used some post-it tape to mask the other words on the stencil so it would be easier for me to apply the ink. As I said before, I'm working each step at a time, so I finished all the ink blending first for all the cards. I also wanted to decorate the envelopes, so I used the same stencil and the same ink, and the way to do it fast was to get 2 envelopes, put them side to side, and place the stencil on top, and then ink blend both envelopes at the same time, a little bit of ink on the corners, and then switch the envelopes to the other side that I hadn't inked yet, and then do the same thing. So I had 2 envelopes finished in no time. For the sentiment, I chose Hello There from an Amy Tangerine stamp set. I really love the font. I used my anti-static powder tool and used Versamark ink for the embossing. I white heat embossed on black cardstock. This is one of the way I like the most for sentiments on cards. Now I'm checking to see whether I like it or not, and I do. I first cut out strips of the black cardstock and heat embossed about 28 to have extra ones just in case. I apply heat to each strip after I added the powder just to make sure I wouldn't mess it up. And then I use some scissors to cut them to size. I decided to add a white circle to ground my sentiment. So I punched them out of those pieces that I had left from the card bases. For the inside of the card, I printed the information about the party with some fancy fonts that I liked and the name of each girl. I did that on vellum, and the first try I did it with an inkjet printer and it didn't work, so I had to use a laser printer. Then I glued the sentiments on the white circles that I had punched out. I only used 1 dot of glue. Then I adhered the focal panels to the card fronts. Well, in this case, dry adhesive would have been better, but that's what I had on hand and I used it. I only added a few dots of glue because I'll be sewing on the top part of the card and I don't want my needle to get all gummed up. Here you can see that I have like an assembly line. I put 5 or 6 on a row and then another row, add the glue and adhere them to the card front. Another trick that I do is leave the glue upside down. That way it's always on the tip and you don't have to wait for it to come out. I stamped my handmade stamp on the back of my cards. This is a stamp that I had made years ago, but I still use it. I use the same color ink and I did 3 cards at a time to work fast. I had to mark this up sign for my stamp so I wouldn't mess it up because I always stamp it upside down. Now it's time to start adding the sentiment to the front of the cards. So I did my assembly line style with the dots of glue, a few dots, and glue them on the front. For the inside of the cards, I wanted a little bit more color. So I cut out a few more of the cards and added a little bit of contrasting color or pattern, or sometimes I flip the pink card depending on the pattern that was behind, and then I glue them overlapping each other. And this is the way I added the glue, just a tiny drop on the corners because I'm going to be sewing later and I don't want lots of glue. So just a tiny touch of the glue and then place them on top. And here they are. They look gorgeous. Okay, now it's time for the sewing machine. I loaded it with black thread. I wanted to match some of the black cardstock that I have on the front, and I just did a straight line. I just line it up with one of the lines on the base of the machine and did slowly as straight as I could do. Then I just tied a little knot on the front on both sides and left the threads hanging there because I like that look. And I did the same thing for the little strips that are going to go on the inside. Okay, my cards are almost ready. I'm going to glue the information that I printed on vellum and I cut to size and glue on top that little embellishment that I just made. For this step, I lined 3 cards in a row and I glued them like an assembly line, like I've been doing the whole process. So I did 3 at a time. Now I only needed one more thing, a little embellishment for the front. I punched out some hearts and some butterflies, and I ended up using butterflies for all of them. And here they are. I hope you like them, and hopefully I gave you some tips or tricks to mass produce cards. My daughter loved them, and her friends were very, very happy to get this beautiful card.